So as for naval units, what I wanted to look at actually were the frigates, which are from the original Civilization. So we'll look at the frigate here. So it's similar. The main purpose of the frigate in the original Civilization was to replace the sail. So it's a transport and a combat ship. But in Civilization 2, it is no longer your primary cargo ship. For that, you want a galleon, which you also acquire with the magnetism improvement. The main advantage of the galleon is that it can carry 4 units instead of 2, but it doesn't have any attack, so it's not primarily a combat ship. They're not mentioning this, but it is for carrying units. The frigate can carry 2 units, whereas the galleon can carry 4. The frigate is for combat, essentially. So you notice attack strength is 0 on the galleon. The main thing to remember is that in the era of magnetism, the frigate is not primarily your cargo ship. It's primarily a combat ship. Whereas in Civilization 1, it was both. You have an ironclad also, but the ironclad is more of a literal vessel in design. They don't limit you to literal use like in later versions of Civilization, but you can tell from the design it's more designed after the ironclads that operated on the Mississippi River in the American Civil War, rather than ironclads that went to sea, which were largely based on wooden steamships. What is clear is that the ironclad, because it can't carry any units, is purely a combat ship in Civilization 2. And earlier in the game you have, if I can find it, where is it? The caravel, which replaces the sail as your main combat ship and transport. And you still have the trireme as your original ship. Maybe lost outside the land. So the trireme is literal. But that's a carryover from Civilization 1. And there's the transport and the submarine. There's no distinction between diesel and nuclear submarines in Civilization 2, as in some later versions of Civilization. So once you have combustion, you have the best submarine available. Actually, if we could look at Civilization Advances, you have a few more, just like amphibious warfare, for example, to accommodate the new units. Combined arms is for paratroopers and helicopters and so on. Environmentalism is for the solar plant. Guerrilla warfare is for the partisans. Partisans, incidentally, will be generated automatically if one of your cities is invaded by the enemy. So that's handy. Let's see what else we got. We have mobile warfare, which is distinct from the automobile. So when you get the automobile, you can build battleships, strangely enough, whereas steel gives you the ability to build cruisers in Civilization 2. But you need mobile warfare to build tanks. So there are more steps in the process. Now, nuclear power I wanted to look up, because I was wondering if that upgrades your submarines. Okay, increases all ship movement rates by 1. I guess because they assume all your ships are nuclear, which of course is not really realistic. But there it is. Maybe the idea is your overall technological level is at a higher level. But take a look at this. This is another important thing. I mentioned the technology tree for Civilization 1, how that was what the game was ultimately built off of. But in Civilization 1, you only find the tree in the manual. You don't find it in Civilopedia. But in Civilization 2, there it is. And this is a specific technology tree for nuclear power. See that? I'll go back. And there's refrigeration for the supermarket, sanitation for the sewer system, warrior code for the archers. Tactics, this upgrades your dragoons to cavalry and allows you to build alpine troops. Steel is different from the original civilization because it gives you the ability to build cruisers. It's not really so much about battleships. So it allows the automobile with combustion and machine tools with tactics. Machine tools allow you to build the artillery unit. And we'll just jump over to the demographics again. So the demographics screen is largely the same. The reason I'm first in everything here is that they give you a little bit of a head start. They let you build your first city before your rivals, at least at chieftain skill level. And you can see my numbers here are absolutely abysmal. But that's because it's 4000 BC. And you might say, well, I'm happy the music isn't still playing and interrupting the narration. That's because it's under the options for the game. So game options, music, I have it shut off. Always wait at end of turn, I have that shut off. But I have some other things switched on. So autosave each turn, show enemy moves. Up to a point. You have to know that the enemy are there. Instant advice and tutorial help. And if we look at this, graphic options, you have to switch on your videos. Getting the videos to work in modern versions of Windows was my biggest challenge to building this playthrough, because in general, Civilization 2 is not compatible with modern versions of Windows. This involved the use of many, many patches, plus my video files. And most of the patches don't include the video files, so you have to figure out how to reinstall them, activate them, make them compatible. I found that even with the patches, you have to run Civilization 2 in compatibility mode for, I think I have it running for Windows 98, so even earlier than XP, because that's the era of the game, more or less. So getting this to run is a bit of a challenge, unfortunately, especially because it's my favorite version of Civilization, actually. Now, the fun part. We'll take a look at the advisors. Consult the High Council. Actually, first we'll look at what was pre-existing. So city status, there are no cities. Defense minister, there are no units except for the settlers. Foreign minister, you have not made contact with other civilizations. This gives a list of your embassies, though. Attitude advisor, I don't really have any cities, so that's nothing yet. Oop, I didn't mean to do that. Trade advisor, no trade yet. Science advisor, I already have these advances because they were randomly given to me at the beginning of the game. Casualty timeline, this was new, of course, but again, no military activity yet, so no casualties. But what I wanted to look at were the High Council. So here's the military advisor.
Give me more soldiers, noble leader, that they may sheathe their swords in the beating hearts of our enemies!
So all of them are sort of, I don't know, parodies of people who might actually be in these positions historically. So this is in the ancient world. Elvis Presley is your attitude advisor throughout the game. This is a carryover from your entertainers in Civilization 1, all being Elvis Presley, or maybe Elvis impersonators.
No complaints, noble leader.
I'll have to finish this in the next video.